This afternoon we'll start with nuts and bolts, and so first Ashley's going to talk a little bit about QA interactive protocols. Bree is going to talk about some sunshine business, and then Michelle will finish the team collaboration part, and then Dr. Wood will also talk about some other things that you really need. Okay.
So several people have already said, Ashley, did you forget me and my iPad? Obviously, we don't know each other well enough yet that you thought I forgot you, because I never forget you guys. Come on, I have your test kit preferences memorized anyway. And again, I live in this world, so maybe I remember it and haven't explained it enough. Every year, we are not allowed to submit an order for anything. We're not allowed to spend a penny until September 1st. Well, it's August 29th. So they have had the order for this year since, I don't know, the first week of June at this point. So on Friday, our protocol and everything, laptops, iPads, you name it, order will be submitted. And then there's like that 2-week lag time or whatever until we get things. And it sucks. And if I had a magic wand, I would fix it, but I don't. So everyone who's gotten an iPad is who's had an iPad last year, because that is their test kit. For those who still have the WISC-5 traditional kit, you know, Gordon has something he can give next week if he's just super excited to give a COG the first day of school. And I know you are. So I didn't forget you. If I told you you're getting Q Interactive, I told you the truth. As soon as they are here, you will get them. So for protocols on our Schoology page, I posted it yesterday, the form for you to use to estimate what protocols you need for the year. Again, we have protocols from last year left over. So like right now is, what do you need to get through the next couple weeks? Even if that wasn't the case, if I gave you all the protocols you needed for this year, you can't physically carry them anyway. So they all end up hiding in my cubicle. Anyway, hold on. Squirrel. Yeah, so for those that don't have their email address, I will email you at your personal so you guys know how to, because you can get on there already and fill it out too. So in the meantime, otherwise go in there and fill it out and we will start getting them ready for you. Yes.
It's a good question, I promise.
Okay.
Are we able to find out how many protocols we used last year so that that can help us with doing our estimation for this year? Is it possible?
Am I allowed to sleep?
Okay. So basically it'd be more work for you. Okay, that's all I wanted to know. If it's more work for you, then no.
That's how many you use. Nicole is always the #1 Basque user. This is like Nicole and then like everybody else. I randomly do counts, but I haven't done it lately. Yes?
Just a note for people who have preschool as an assignment, don't calculate your protocol usage with preschool, because that is, unless
you guys have your own inventory.
But, the protocols for preschool are ordered from a separate fund, and there'll be more on that at the preschool meeting.
That's another fun topic. Yeah. Any other questions about protocols or test kits? Really?
Do we need to update any of the Q interactions from last year?
Anyone that turned in their iPads, like the last day of school, I went through every single one of them that didn't have a passcode. Please don't give me all your passcodes. And updated everything, but I think it's safe to say that an update has happened since June. So they have all been charged, so they're all at 100%. That's him, not me. I updated him. He actually made sure they didn't die. I figured. Yeah.
September 13th,
So Pearson will be coming back on September 13th to do the same Q Interactive training that they did last school year. Everyone is, I mean, it's open to anybody, whether you are going to be participating in that or not, you're welcome to come. We do have, WASASP has approved the clock hours, so it is, you know, an option for you to get the 3 NASP approved clock hours for that as well. NCSB shout out there. Yeah, I already sent an Outlook invitation for that. June, I think. I can send that again.
Thank you.
Anything else? Euler?
Thank you. Bree?
Okay. So welcome back, everybody. Good to see you all.
Thank you for lunch.
Okay. Well, actually, that was provided within the department budget.
the site department and everybody downtown who let us spend that money. So I don't know of any other announcements, the new developments of the summer, but does anybody have anything to share before I go into the next big items? Yeah.
I'm trying to see, I'm doing a direction at my high school about cell phones and tech devices, and then we need charging stations at my office. So that kids can like charging during class. So if you have any goals, like cords and stuff, you can
Okay. So old cords, if you have them for phones, put them in Scout's mailbox.
Someone's having a baby.
Yeah.
Can we tell people?
I'm having a baby in December.
I wasn't gonna announce that until we got
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, in June when you're like, you can have them buy a cake. I'm like, I'm just now finally telling my family.
Awesome. So the next order of business is dues. So we do that every year just to get some money to help fund what Sunshine does. So, birthday treats or opening day treats, cake. It's a lot of food. And then any other things that we come up with throughout the year. So it is $5 per clock hour. Or not clock hour, sorry, FTE. So if you're a 1.0, that's $25. If you're a 0.8, that's 20. If you're a 0.7, that's 17. She doesn't work in middle school. Yeah, it's been a while. I haven't done a lot of math this summer. So forth.
Wait, that's not right.
Right?
Per day, $5
per
a
day.
day.
Gary,
Per
per
day.
day.
Per day.
Per day. How about that?
Per day.
$5 a
Yeah.
day.
Yeah.
So point.
Thursday,
Yeah.
1750 for 0.7.
What's up? Oh yeah, interns, faculty, students. You guys do not pay. This is for the full-fledged site.
Do we make it to Sunshine or to Breathe?
You go ahead and make it to me because I've got the account or the cash is good. Yeah, cash, check, Venmo, and if anybody has Venmo,
Yeah.
you have Venmo? Okay. Yep. Look,
No.
What?
She's gonna say that next.
What?
Don't worry about it.
Oh, yes. Okay, so my next order of business to bring up is I have been doing Sunshine for 2 years now, and I feel like it is my time to hand the torch over to somebody else. And so I'm going to be stepping down, but I am looking for somebody who would like to be the Sunshine Committee Chair. So a lot of what I've done as the chair is being a treasurer and kind of coordinating, kind of getting the committee together and assigning roles and checking in on people, and then I get a lot of, when there's big announcements or things happening in the department, that I'm the person that people go to so I can send out the troops to bring cheer to people in need or those who need some kind of acknowledgement. So if anybody is interested, you can tell me now. Think about it, but I would love to hand the reins over.
So
This
what
year.
will happen during our team time, you can sign up each team, we'll pass around maybe a piece of paper or something, people can sign up for Sunshine Committee. And then once you have people grouped together, maybe among yourself, then you can elect.
That's a great idea. That is a great idea.
How many Sunshine members do
I
you
think
need?
there's no limit, but minimum.
I think 1 to 2 would be, 2 minimum would be great. Just because we have a lot of different roles and to spread it out, because sometimes we get overloaded and then, Sunshine comes at you and it's one big thing. So, the more the merrier on Sunshine. But thank you so much for putting up with all my spiels the past couple years. And it's been great to be the Sunshine Chair. And I'm hoping whoever comes in and does this next is going to revamp it, revolutionize it, and it'll be a lot more fun. So,
Thank you,
But
Bree,
thank you.
so much.
Don't forget, I've got your names here, I'm gonna check you off. And then whatever team gets filled up first, we'll get you a little treat. So think about that. But thank you.
Okay, all right, let's go back to this one free collaboration. Is I Pity the Fool from the A-Team? I know it's Mr. T.
Yeah,
Is
I
that
Pity the
from
Fool.
the A-Team?
Yeah.
Okay. I know that.
I never watched it, but I know that.
Okay, we did this one. Let's go to the next one. Okay, we're jumping back in the mindset of team collaboration. After a referral meeting, SIT, MAT, etc., and interventions being in place for 6 to 10 weeks, a decision to proceed with an initial evaluation for special education is made by the team. Due to a scheduling conflict, the SLP was not able to be present at the meeting. The teacher and parent request an evaluation and communication as part of the initial evaluation. What would be the next step? So number 1 says the decision to include the communication evaluation can be made at the team meeting. Number 2 says the SLP should be consulted prior to recommending an evaluation in the area of communication. What do you think the answer is? Go ahead and say it aloud. 2. Yeah. So this is a really big thing this year, especially with our ESA partnerships, is that by checking the box, you're committing them to something that may or may not be appropriate. We really need to be in consultation with them. It can get complicated, right? Especially like if you're in a time crunch and you need to send out that consent and your SLP hasn't responded to you, you tried to get in touch with them. It's tricky, but really we should be consulting them prior to checking communication.
What did they say that our response should be to that?
They said it's 2.
No,
Or what?
No, if we can't, if we don't hear from them,
25 days.
and everyone's
We didn't
at
go,
the
yeah,
meeting.
so we didn't go into the weeds, but I would say, so in a perfect world, you're able to collaborate and get prompt communication. I would say, if you don't, you have 2 choices, and it really, so this is another reason why building the relationship and trust and professional relationship between you, and especially your SLP, but also your OT and your PT is really important. Because, so, in my building, I've made 2 varying choices. Either because I have a good relationship with my SLP who trusts my judgment, I have gone ahead and checked communication. And then the worst, I've told her, I've said like, Emily, I'm not sorry, blah, blah, blah. But the worst thing that can happen is, even if they don't do a comprehensive evaluation, they just put a blurb in the communication section.
Because that is an evaluation.
Right, this says, I observed the student, and based on this information, I know that they don't, they won't say I know, they don't qualify for services, there was no need to do additional assessment.
Yeah.
So if you check the box, you run the risk of angering your colleague, but that, if you have that relationship with them, that's one choice. The other choice is that you choose not to check the box, and then worst case scenario there is you do approach them later, and communication does need to be part of the evaluation. So you send home a prior written notice and a new consent that has that checked off. You need to honor the date of the original consent form, but that's the other path that I could see you taking that would be legitimate. So those are sort of the options.
But it's a little concerning with option 2 because then you get into that whole, did you assess every suspected part of the disability? Like, if you don't do anything, something's gonna have to be in that communication. Because if you've got something in that referral paperwork that says language or articulation concerns, you have to speak to that.
Right.
Somebody has to speak to that.
Yes.
Are we still using that other areas as needed box under other?
Yeah, so we never got our hands slapped for that. So what she's talking about, if for new people or anybody that doesn't remember, on our consent forms, it has.
He's countering what you're saying.
Legal says that it's
Last time
preventable.
too. You guys used to read last year.
Yes and no. Again, this is back to what Ms. Dorman is saying about collaboration with your team. Because, for example, the occupational therapist and the physical therapist, they're not a big fan of that other areas as needed. So I'm not saying don't do it, but again, in this scenario, I think you definitely need to collaborate with whoever the other ESAs are to make sure this is the proper model to follow. I would not just mark other areas as needed and then get the signed consent and then all of a sudden, oh, we think we need motor, because those occupational therapists and physical therapists email their team leads, and then those team leads come over and talk to us, and that just creates a lot of issues. So I would refrain from doing that unless you have some sort of understanding already between you and the other ESAs, the SLP, the OT, and the PT. But otherwise, I would really It's defendable, yes, but it can create a lot of problems with our other colleagues, so.
And the other, okay, go ahead.
So Mike, it's a question for you kind of. So in our meeting, say you have a teacher and a parent going, this student has a communication issue. And you don't have your SLP there, but your SLP is everywhere. And I don't, it seems to me really hard to say, well, since he's not here, I'm really gonna leave this blank for now. He's gonna give you a call, and I'm gonna send you another notification that says we're gonna go ahead and evaluate it together. That sounds really hard to decide.
Yeah. So there are two ways that I get around it. One is develop a really close bond with your SLP so that they trust your professional opinion in those meetings to make those decisions, and just include communication. I err on the side of including communication, and then worst thing that happens to my SLP is she has to write a blurb that says the kid doesn't.
Okay, I thought you were telling us the right answer was number one.
No, the right answer is number two.
Number two.
The other,
No, okay, so.
But Gordon, what I would say,
I do what she just said just now.
Right, just do that, but what I'm saying, in your situation, if, let's say it's an initial meeting, you could say that that's the referral, and then you have 25 school days, and at that amount of time, you can reach out to your SLP.
Okay.
Now, if it's at the end of 25 days, and they've already, like, said at the beginning of the process, we want communication looked at, that's up to the SLP to be there. And if they're not there, then you have to go with whatever they're deciding. So, and if the SLP wants to complain, or the OT or PT, then that's on them, because they knew they should have been informed. Hopefully you informed them, and then they should know about the meeting, and they, had enough time to make their schedule so that they would attend.
So sadly, that's the best one. That means I have to mail my consent form and stuff later on, so I can't do it in a meeting. But that's the right answer.
the other way to proactively get around this is tightening and beefing up your referral process, where when there's a referral made, gather all the information and the concerns in advance of the meeting so that you have that extra buffer window to consult with the SLP. That's when, you include on your form, are there any communication concerns? What are they? What does it look like? What does it sound like? And then you give that information to the SLP so that if they can't be at that decision to assess meeting, at least they've already looked at some of the information and given you their input on whether or not they think that it's appropriate for them to be involved.
And asking them for input on what specific question, like if you know what they're gonna ask, like making sure you use the verbiage that they want, because really you're gathering the information from them. So I made sure that when I asked questions about articulation, that it was framed the way my SLP wanted it.
Right, yeah. But the answer is number two. The other ESAs are really driving this home. They don't like it's like a contract. They don't want to be contracted to do something that they were not a part of. So if we do that to them.
And I would, but it's important. It's important for also during this consultation of somewhere, if you have a great relationship with your SLP, that's fine. If it's not that great, I would strongly recommend you putting this consultation in the form of an email. Because again, what has happened last year, the SLPs email the SLP team leads, and then they email me or somebody else saying, so-and-so didn't wait till the last minute, And in a couple of cases, I was able to talk to the site, and the site was able to pull up emails that said, no, I sent them this way back when. And so I was able to kind of advocate and say, that's not what happened, this is what happened. So it's great if you have an excellent relationship with them, and that's fine, but if you're it's not warm and fuzzy, put it in writing and email, and send it to make sure that you have your documentation.
Yes, Vaughn.
I would say a third option is that you do the evaluation and you can do an assessment revision subsequent to the determination. So there are times where I have had, and I'm a really active team builder, but when I don't hear back from somebody, I won't do that, but I will continue to I will continue to contact them during my eval process. And if I come to the end and I have an eval meeting and they, I invite them to the eval meeting and they don't come to any meeting ever and they don't respond to me ever, then I just I just make a referral to them as part of an assessment division. And then it's all on them. And
So
they
that,
get to
yeah,
decide.
so that's another option. It goes kind of back to what Ashley's saying about then is that first evaluation.
Did you evaluate all areas of
All
suspected
areas.
disability?
Mhm.
That's the sticky part, and I totally see where Vaughn's
But
coming
if who's
from.
deciding it's a suspected disability, if only the parents, if the teacher didn't,
You gotta speak to it, whether you
Yeah.
say, they said that this is the problem, but they're on crack, like, you gotta answer it.
Communications weren't made with the appropriate people.
Basically, we gotta do what we gotta do. Try to do it cordially, professionally,
Hurry up and
and
wait.
intelligently. You know, like, problems are gonna come up during the year, but if that's the way that you respond to things, you're setting yourself up for success.
Make yourself a reminder to remind them.
I don't even remember what this question was. Oh, okay, yeah. Ooh, this one's like hot topic a little bit. Classroom teacher requests the OT do an evaluation of a student. The student is a general education student and has not been referred to a SID, MTSS, MAT meeting at the school. The OT, A, asks the school psychologist to obtain parental consent and complete an evaluation of the child, obviously. B, tell the teacher he or she must refer the child to a SID meeting before the OT can observe. Or C, gathers additional information from the teacher and then observes the student in class with peers if needed, reviews the student work if needed, and provides the teacher general education strategies to try if warranted. What do you think the answer is? Yes, that's right. I know we talked a lot about when you can do observations of students, at what point in the process. And one thing that we discussed during the induction is think about who your client is and what the purpose is. So in this situation, what Kelly said, which was like brilliant when she said it, the client is the teacher, right? Because it's the teacher who wants help and wants some strategies how to work with the student. The OT cannot go in and poll the student individually, do any type of assessment, or ask the student to do something different than what their peers are doing. But if the OT enters the classroom, just observes the learning environment, and then consults and collaborates with the teacher on instructional strategies, that's perfectly okay. But once you're kind of going towards the path of this is a referral and we think it's headed towards special ed, and that's kind of the outcome of where we're going to use that data, that's where you need to be in contact with the parent and get consent before doing an observation. Okay? New people, was that reflective of what we said in the meeting? Okay.
But it is important too, just parents should know that the student, if there's an area of concern, I mean, it shouldn't be.
Right.
So Michelle?
Yes.
Do you do any documentation of,
Excuse me, what?
do you do any documentation of that process describing
What I do, I
if
don't
anyone
think
did,
you
it
would
would be the
document
OT.
anything because really it's consultation with the teacher.
But is Rhonda asking, would you or would the OT?
Well, I wouldn't.
I wouldn't, but
I'm
maybe,
At this point, I'm not involved.
maybe the OT would. I don't know. I don't think they're required to.
Well, if it's in writing, is that a special ed class?
Depends on what they say.
That is a good point.
They use those evil words, eval, suspected disability.
Lesson teacher requires the OT to
I've
do
taught
an
my staff what
evaluation.
works, not
So if
Okay.
it's not written, you don't have.
Right. So the question is kind of about, is this a referral? And this is where this gets tricky. If it's in writing and they mention evaluation, you don't really know if that's an official referral or not. That's the time to follow up and say, hey, are you actually making a referral for a special education evaluation? Because then this is the process. And then follow that process.
Which we
But
have that
sometimes
we-
when you clarify, they're like, oh, no, I just mean like, can you come look at the kid?
And we have that template, email response if anybody needs that of, what are you really saying?
So this slide is just, we showed them the procedural guide and kind of how to access it and kind of some of the pre-referral and referral responsibilities. And then Kelly had put this together, tips for collaboration. So the bullet points say, schedule an overlapping day or two with other SPED ESAs. This is essential. So within this next week, it's really important when you go out to your buildings, you find out the schedules of your SLP, your OT, your PT, and try to find a day where you overlap. And you should be there for the SIT meeting day too. Yeah, keep that.
Would we have support from central office if we're expected to share an office with one of these ESAs, therefore we cannot be there on the same day?
Okay, so what Kelly said in the meeting is, don't be afraid of shared office space. It's a good thing. She is encouraging shared office space and to be there on the same day.
that a
Because what she's
closet
saying
or-
is, really OTs shouldn't be working with students in their office. They should be out and about, and they can be amenable to your testing schedule. And really, when she was talking about it, she was talking about like if OTs and SLPs overlapped. I think it is more complicated for us. But
My OT and PT and SLP all share, and it works well.
yeah,
But the SLP and I, they tried to get us to, and we shut that down quickly.
Well, you can.
Yeah, we can. So it really depends.
Yes. If it's a problem, let your team lead know, and we'll go through the appropriate channels to see like what we can do. But definitely schedule an overlapping day or two, especially for meetings, you know, to make sure that you can all meet on the same day so you're not driving all over the place. Okay, determine the best method of communication for team members for consent received, timelines, meetings, etc., whether that's email, Outlook, a note in the mailbox, and then use that communication method. And then I'm gonna reinforce for us, it's so important that we notify our team members when consent comes in. They're counting on us. It is our job. And I brought up in the meeting, I was like, it's our job, but also if you're an SLP and you're sort of expecting consent to come back and you haven't heard anything from us, send us a reminder to let you know.
Remind us to remind you.
Yes, remind us to remind you because we're imperfect humans. Sometimes it happens. But like really make a habit of, oh, I received consent. That means I scan it and I upload it to IEP Online and I notify my team members. Just like that's what you do with consent, right? Okay. Okay, the third point, schedule a planning meeting with all SPED staff 2 to 3 times a year and plan ahead for IEPs and reevaluations. Hopefully this can happen during that early release time. Sometimes there's dedicated, we're not using, it's an early release every single Wednesday. The psych department is not using all of those Wednesdays. You're gonna have time in the buildings. And some of it's going to be principal directed, but then some can be teacher directed. And so in some buildings, they split up and you might have a SPED meeting. That's a good time to just kind of review what's coming up, collaborate with people. The other tip is that at the beginning of the year, what I do, I mean, I'm not going to tell you how to do your job unless it really becomes a problem, but then I won't tell you, Spencer will tell you. At the beginning of the year, what I do is I look at the date, I look at the evaluation due dates and the IEP due dates. And I move, if an evaluation is due later than an IEP, I move my evaluation up because it just doesn't make sense to do it in the opposite order. You don't want them to write an IEP and then you do an eval and then they have to change the IEP and vice versa too. I don't expect my staff to move the IEPs up, but I like for my staff to move the IEPs up. I just feel like I can change the way I worked. I can't really force other people to change the way they work. But they would probably want to do that too. So that's a good time to collaborate, look at your upcoming meetings.
Great
and
work,
also do what Ashley does, that I've actually never done before, but I will do now, and I think you do it too, so we'll be doing it together, is if you have, like, it's kind of a no-brainer, but if you have, like, 2 due in September, 2 due in October, 2 due in November, and then 10 due in December, well, maybe you should move them up so that you're kind of spacing
Plenty
out
of them are
more.
going to come to fill that void. Get them done. Goof off in
Usually
June.
mine, it's just like 10 every month, so whatever.
I get all my Junes done well before June, and I end up doing something else in
so that's the
June.
other tip is that the end of year one, just expect the referral, you're gonna be referral heavy February on. So any of those June evaluations that you can start plugging in throughout the year, try to move them up early.
Because if you do it early, you can still get an extension because you're not near your triennial due date. Worst case scenario, you know what, I thought I was going to do that early? JK, not going to do it. Going to push it back.
Also, try as much as possible to propose meeting dates for all your reevals through the year at the beginning of the year. There will be, obviously, there will be shifts and changes, but to get if you want to do a reeval and an IEP in a meeting, to get your administrator there, you're going to need to get you're going to need to get it on their schedule early. So, and I mean, yeah. Okay.
Some schools
And
do that.
also
Kelly does that.
Especially middle of you're only there 1 day a week.
And the earlier that you're notifying the parents, the more likely they will be able to attend that meeting. If you're notifying, what I actually do is when I send consent, I also send the proposed meeting date and I say, does this work for you or not? And then when I get consent back, I already know, okay, great, that's gonna be my date, or okay, now I need to start seeing where else they can fit in this month.
Yeah.
Kelly, the OT team,
And it's
told
been
me
really,
she,
I mean, you're all kind
they
of looking at me
schedule
like
all
I'm
your
crazy, but it's
items
been actually truly, really successful, especially getting the dates with all your related service providers on the calendar as early as possible. Be creative with space and room constraints. We had already talked about that. Don't be afraid of overlapping, but if overlapping is a problem, let us know and we'll see what we can do. Set up your voicemail. This is a really key one. List your schedule in your email signature.
and your phone number.
Yes. Your schedule and where to reach you on any particular day. It's so much more helpful because then you don't have, then I don't have to email the person to say, when are you at this school again? Like, it's there in my email. Setting up voicemail, okay, write this name down. If you don't have your voicemail going to your email, which is like, you want that? Debbie Hansen, and it's, I never know if it's with Hansen with an E or Hansen with an O.
Telecom.
Okay. SBN, Debbie Hansen with an E, S-E-N. Or Telecom will make it so that your voicemails go to your email, which is fantastic because then it means no matter which building you're in, you're getting your voicemails, you know what's up.
But just so you know, that means that whatever voicemail, it's now like an email, so it's a discoverable document. I've had a sped director leave a voicemail about a parent on another staff's voicemail, and that ended up being part of a due process hearing, so don't have that Monday.
So be aware when you're leaving voicemails for other people.
Leave it in your
Use
head.
your Outlook calendar. That's like our main tool for scheduling meetings, seeing if people are able to attend. And be flexible. That is the major takeaway.
And find time is back.
And I gotta work on that one.
Find time is back. It magically reappeared.
Okay, so we talked in the induction meeting. We talked about role differentiations and evaluations. When are people case managers and not? You guys already know this, but I'll just review it. Sites are pretty much always case managers unless it's for a CD only kid. Don't get me started on the idea of CD only, because that's a separate matter. But case manager for initial and reevaluations and completing assessment revisions with team lead approval is when we would be case managers. SLPs would be case managers in the event of CD-only initials and reevaluations. They participate in evaluations and reevaluations, and SLPs also complete assessment revisions with team lead approval. They should also be, we get the requests no matter, the team leads get assessment revision requests, whether it involves a psych or not. So if an SLP wants to do a communication assessment revision, it goes to Pat, she passes it to us, we give the approval or not. And I always say, sure, I approve it as long as your SLP has communicated with your psych and you're positive that really communication is the only concern and there is not a need to do math also or reading also, which would necessitate a reevaluation.
She's so trusting in me. I always CC you guys on that email just so I can make sure you know.
Yeah. So we don't want the individual groups completing assessment revisions without collaborating with each other. And so that means the same thing for us too. If you want to do an assessment revision to look at math, you should be talking to the other ESAs to say, oh, hey, SLP, are there any communication concerns that maybe I can't just do my assessment revision, we would need to do a reevaluation to look at everything. OTs, PTs, audiologists, adaptive PE, and vision do not serve as case managers. They participate in evaluations and reevaluations. They do complete assessment revisions with team lead approval. We're still working out because I know it gets tricky, right? If the OT is doing the assessment revision, who sends consent? Who schedules the meeting? Who checks it to make sure that it's actually correct and they carried over all the areas of STI? Who goes and gathers signatures?
That's not really tricky. It's them.
It's
The answer
them.
to all of those
It's
questions
them.
is them.
However, what if your OT messes it all up and messes up the areas of STI? I like to at least give them the seal of approval after it's all over. So that's what happens in my past buildings is the OT would come to me and talk about the need for an assessment revision. They would handle everything and then at the end say, hey, Michelle, will you look this over to make sure it's all correct and everything's carried over?
Because if you look at an assessment revision and you see, all right, they dropped communication or they dropped motor. So here is this document signed saying this kid is SLD and they need math, calc, and social behavior and it has an OT signature only.
Yeah, it has to,
It's
we
just
have to
looks
sign off
weird.
on it anyway, so we should be looking at the document.
Because now they are solely living in our land, like,
Okay, let's see what else we got. Oh, and then she went over the definition of services, specially designed instruction versus related services versus supplementary aids and services. Are you interested in
No.
finally clarifying what that is? Okay, SDI is what you think of as special ed. Special ed is specially designed instruction. It's adapting as necessary to the needs of an eligible student, the methodology, delivery, content, or, yeah, I skipped, or blah, blah, of instruction. That's when you work directly with the child. Gen Ed teachers can deliver SDI under the supervision or design of a SPED teacher. So can SLPs, OTs, PTs, audiologists. Okay, related services is what does the kid need to benefit from their special ed services? So special ed is what does the kid need so that they can come to school and be included with their non-disabled peers? Related services is what do they need so that they can get the SDI that's been designed for them? So, and what it says here is services as are required to assist a student eligible for special education to benefit from special education. That's what I just said. Can be provided directly to the student or on behalf of the student. And it's discipline specific. Supplementary aids and services are,
Excuse me.
yes.
I'm sorry, could you give it, what would the related service for SLP be?
Okay, so traditional, like outside of Washington, traditionally SLPs, OTs, all these other groups are related services. They're not SDI. That's the model of how they serve kids. Here, we put communication as an area of SDI, but it can also be an area of related service. So if the goal is a writing goal, yeah, it's hard for, like, so it's not my specialty.
so
it's hard.
social communication, a lot of times pragmatics, like the SLP going in to like your focused or distant classes during some group activity, supporting that way as opposed to pulling a kid one-on-one to do articulation drilling.
I'd still say that could be SDI though. So if something is listed as
Supporting
SDI,
a different goal.
there has to be a goal that is that heading.
Yeah, they don't have their own
If
goal.
something is a related service, they're attached to that goal. So I'll use an adaptive goal is probably the easiest way to explain it. So if the adaptive goal is that the student knows, this is a dumb one, but like knows their address and phone number and can say it when prompted, that's an adaptive goal. They're getting adaptive specially designed instruction, but they might need related services and communication in order to reach that goal. Does that make sense? Doesn't really answer the question. Ask your SLP.
No, I'm always struggled with, and I think OT and PT, if I remember correctly, maybe last week, I think they're going all to related service.
For the most part, yeah, because that's really their practice.
That's what Elspeth told me last year.
And so you could qualify for speech motor, and you would have a goal, but you would still be a related service.
If you're related service only, because sometimes it's really fun and they'll do all three. You've seen that where they say we have SDI and motor, we have related services and motor.
Oh my God.
I know. But if they are not doing SDI, they do not have their own goal. Right. So usually you'll see like OTs, like I'm not gonna have my own goal.
They're working on the teacher goals.
I will put my information under the written language. And this is what I'm gonna do from a fine motor component to support their written language.
And generally, students that have motor SDI should be kids who are so severely impacted that 20, 60 minutes of PT a week is not going to cut their motor needs. And so they need motor embedded into like their daily instruction. And I think they're trying to move towards the special ed teacher providing some of that because that's the person that sees them all the time. At least that's what they explained to me.
Yeah.
Yes, Scout?
We have added different transfer students. They sometimes have OT or PT written down as SDI. We have to go with what the previous district did. And so if they were kind of pushed back about that, they're supposed to go to their team leaders. Their team leaders talk to them about this at their review. And so if they need to adjust it, if they revision or work with their team leader on how to change it, There will be times with transfer that their SDI, even though that's not
Aren't there times when they have goals too? When
Yeah.
it's, when it's a related service, I mean?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
you can, so for related service, you
Yeah.
can have a goal, you don't have to. But the nice thing is, we don't have to worry about this. Like, this
Like,
is
you
not.
have your stuff in the right box, okay, good.
Because we're always, the services that we recommend are always SDI. So it's really up to your ESAs in your building to kind of figure out what they're supposed to be
But it
doing.
is our job to clean it up if it has SDI and related service and it doesn't
And
make
that's
sense.
when I just say, go talk to Kelly and Chris,
Yeah.
right? Like, that's what the
They
PT,
need to
OT
go
leader
to
for.
They know it, I think they're all.
And then that was it. Questions?
Now, if you go back to page supplemental,
I was hoping you wouldn't notice that.
now there's a drop-down window on our reports, and, isn't that where I sometimes put in, accommodations? Is that a good thing to do or a bad thing?
If you put it in there, now the IEP has to have it. So I guess the question is, how much do you want to lock your IEP team?
Yeah.
As somebody who's had to answer for those in a due process hearing, I leave it blank now, personally.
So I have parents often that want to see the accommodations in the evaluation, or where does it say that they're going to get these? So I can just put a paragraph in with the accommodation?
It's like having that
He
fun,
works at
what is it,
Roosevelt High
the
School.
placement discussion that always comes up. How many of us have been in that initial eval meeting and they're like, so what's it gonna look like? Well, that's what the IEP team
Yeah,
is
that's
supposed
what I
to
would
decide.
say.
Yeah, you can just write in there to be determined by IEP.
Or you can put into each section, like reading, math, writing, say, at the last paragraph, maybe you can have all caps accommodations recommended, and you can list over there. But always emphasize to the parents that when it comes to the IEP, that's the best place to talk about specific accommodations.
Because it might be appropriate now, but not 2.5 years
You
from now.
know, I also get the teachers saying, what are the accommodations supposed to be?
Right, I think, we
High
need to
school
have a
is
real
different.
discussion about this.
Great. Yeah.
We really do, because we're all over the map. I see some with
Yeah.
pages.
Yeah.
More.
We ought to be on the same page.
Yeah.
Well, it's
I
just
agree.
like,
And I
it's like
think
what you put in the
honestly-
SDI description box, which is something that is not required by the WAC or by IDA, but it's just a nature, or a product of IEPO made it. You don't have to write anything more than basic reading. And they're starting to tell them that everything you put in that box, they need to have a goal for. So again, if you've seen one of my reports lately, I write basic reading, end of story. Because I don't want to write the 15 different social emotional skills they could work on and see 15 goals on their IEP.
Yeah.
I agree with you, but I think we ought to be on the same page.
Yeah.
As
Yeah.
parents will feel like one site did a better job by outlining stuff for them.
Yeah.
Or us writing it in the verbiage in the section in the report, but not on the related service seems, also internally inconsistent, sort of.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
Yeah, I would like to know.
Service is not for accommodations. It's for service, like in IA, for instance, if you're gonna have a one-on-one parent. And for service, it's not for.
OT consult.
It says aid services or other supports that are provided in general ed.
It says support.
Yeah, so it's all kinds of stuff, anything you think that kid needs to access their education.
But
right?
it's about resources. But you're saying for
Extra
the
time
IEP,
on tests seems like that would be one, right? Abbreviated homework assignments, I'm not saying I like to recommend these, actually extra time on tests I do. Abbreviated homework, extended deadlines, all that kind of stuff, are the things parents are fighting for,
Yeah.
and they're looking right there for them, I think.
But you think about, and I think part of that is
And if
because
we all
we have
don't
been
do it,
able
that's
to write things in, so, shot ourselves in the foot because we put things there, so now they're expecting to see it there.
Right.
But you think of the parallel, trying to, what is it, thread the needle or whatever they talk about, making sure that you have that alignment. This is the minutes page.
But have you been in a meeting with an attorney who
Yes.
who tells you
Yes.
that they want it there?
Oh,
Okay.
Yeah.
So what I'm hearing is that this is
There's
something
time
that this year, we want some more clarity on, maybe something in the procedural manual, or at least within our department, a little bit more clarity on what's going on. Remember that in our job, we're not, in the evaluation, we're not delineating what the services look like. We can't do that. That's what the IEP team and document is. We're showing what the student is eligible for. So
I would say though that if I were at a meeting, or if there's a meeting and the parents and this, they're saying, why doesn't my son have this accommodation? And the special ed teacher would say, well, it wasn't in the report.
Right. So I'll tell you what I'm not going to tell you what you should do. I'll tell you what I do. In the body of the report, I write recommendations for IEP team to consider.
Yeah.
Because that's what we're doing. We're writing recommendations for the IEP team to consider. It is the IEP team that is creating this service package for the students. And then so I write that in the report, and then on that, what would you call that page? The services page, the SCI page. In the SAS box, I write additional accommodations as determined by IEP team. You know, but yeah.
But again, like the IEP has a page for accommodations.
Right. The IEP
This is not where accommodations go on the IEP.
Yeah.
This is where you write T-consult, transportation, IA support, because there are minutes associated with supplementary services on the IEP.
I agree that we will need to set aside time to be consistent, as Gordon pointed out, so that, you know,
Be a PLC.
no matter where the parents are in the district, they will read the same type of information from the report. Okay, so we'll definitely address that.
That was it. That was the last one.
Yes.
The procedural guide, has that been updated or will it be updated?
Probably not between Thursday and now. They are working on updates to the procedural guide. I don't think it's going to be anything like crazy. I mean, because the procedural guide is really based off of the LACs. But they are updating it. So just keep, and that's why it's online. It's not a printed out hard copy thing. So just keep referring to it and seeing. I don't know when the actual updates will go.
Well, we'll be told every time it's updated, right?
Yeah, unless you want to volunteer to be on that committee to do that over the summer. I didn't either.
Okay.
Dr. Wood, I was trying to off the library thing, but.
Okay.
Done.
Dun, dun, dun.
This is what you do when you
So-
get written.
Yeah, so in terms of the procedural manual, I was on the committee for the update. I don't know when exactly it's going to happen, but the updates are in. It's not going to be anything drastic. It's going to be a lot of the things that we've already been doing, but the manual just got updated. For example, the assessment of revision process that we use, that's just going in. That's all. Whereas before it was the other stuff. OSPI is kind of signed off on it, so we're kind of good to go with it. And I don't know if you were told towards the end of last year, but Jesse came to one of our department retreat thingies, and he basically said that essentially we are kind of off the hook. We are no longer considered by the Department of Education to be a high-risk grantor, whatever, which means they kind of like what we're doing.
So we're done with the MOU.
I don't know what that means, that we are no longer a high risk, but I guess what that means is that they are no longer threatening to withhold our money. So, yeah, there you go.
We're on a 504 now.
So, just some quick things. First of all, laptops. We are hoping to get a new set of them once the budget rolls over. So those of you who have the Latitude 3330s, there's like 6 of you. You're going to be turning those in, and we're going to be getting new ones. So we'll rotate those out.
If you got a new one last year, you're not getting another.
You're not getting another.
We're not that innovative.
You know who you are. It's the one with the silver tops on. There, yes. So there's that. And then Windows 10. So, yes.
There's that story.
You have to. So basically the district is now working towards updating all of the machines to Windows 10. When is that going to happen? When I talked to them in June, they said September. When I talked to them in July, August, they said Christmas. So
not for money.
It is going to happen. They're going through a process where they're going and doing it in the buildings first. Then I think they're doing it here at the John Stanford Center, and then they're going to take care of the laptops for the itinerant people.
They can't do it in our
Michael's doing
building, like our building person can't do it for us.
My understanding is that they have their process, and they're not really, if the machine is considered itinerant, because I think there's a way in which they can tell, like Michael Roten, who is our tech support person, is kind of their machines, they stay away from it. Michael is kind of picky about who gets to touch the laptops, and some of us who have been around for a while have experienced how other people get onto them and do things to them, and Michael gets upset and creates more problems than
uninstall and
solves.
reinstall?
I don't know what they do. All I'm telling you is they're going to put Windows 10 on. So,
And Michael will do it.
but that should not be an issue for anybody because all of your information should be stored on the OneDrive, right?
Absolutely, yes, we all put everything on OneDrive.
The only issue that's going to come up is if there is scoring software that we have put on there.
We'll fix it again.
But we will cross that bridge when we come to it. But as we are, again, moving towards more cloud-based scoring systems, we are hoping to just not have to worry about that.
If it's on your hard drive at that time.
If it is on your hard drive, yes.
You have plenty of time. Copy, move.
If you open up your machine and it doesn't say Windows 10, it's going to get updated. Okay, so,
Nice catch.
thank you. Moving on. So we'll cross that bridge when you come to it. Emergency contacts and schedules. For those of you who've been around, every year we pass out the sheets of papers, and you fill them out, and then I get them. Well, somebody collects them, and they go on a file, and nobody knows exactly where they are when there's an emergency. So this year, we're going to do it. It's an online survey that I created over the summer. I'm going to email it out to everybody. You just go in, you fill it out. I timed it. It takes you maybe about 20 seconds. Fill that in, and you send it, and it'll automatically show up in an Excel sheet so that next year, if you haven't retired or quit or died, you'll use that address to send your new welcome letter. Also, the same will be true for your schedules. I'm going to email it out, and I'm going to say when I need you to have this done by, but if you fill it in, it'll also populate into an Excel sheet that shows your schedules, where you are, your phone numbers, whatever. Some of you don't have direct lines. We prefer you use the direct lines to put on there. If you don't have it, just put the main line, and I guess we'll just figure it out, or you should put it on your email signature, but
We're
whatever.
still gonna share cell numbers too?
What?
We're still gonna share cell numbers? with
I am
each
going to
other
give people the
also?
opportunity to put in their cell phones. If they choose not to, then that's their choice, but we'll populate out the list, and then we'll put it onto our Schoology page. Let's see. Library. So, our test library. That's not happening. I'll go into more detail about that at our meeting, which comes up in 2-3 weeks, whatever. So, our online library is kind of up and running. All of our tests are accounted for. I can tell you when I go on how many of which kind that we have. And we'll go through the process of the checkout. We'll also give you a link where you can go to the library and you just use your name and your password like you do to get on a computer or check your email, and then you can look for tests, and it'll let you put things on hold, do this and that. All the tests are here at the John Stanford Center for right now. We are going to have a library that's going to be north of the Ship Canal.
It's pointing at you.
It's gonna be in.
She's okay with that.
So anyway, Miss Gary and I have to get together and go through the process. So we've got that up and coming. Can't really show it to you right now, but if you go to the professional library, some of you have already been, you know how to look it up, and you can kind of see. For those of you who are new, you can contact a mentor or you can contact me, and I can kind of talk you through it. But it has all the test kits that are in there. We were going to ask the library services to put an icon for the library on each one of your laptops, but then the Windows 10 thing came up, and she wasn't particularly interested in doing it for 60-something people, and then the Windows 10 upgrades, and then having to do it again. So we'll just have to do the link. Some of you, though, back to the Windows 10, who just got laptops, I was able to update some of them to Windows 10, so you don't have to worry about it. The rest of you, you're out of luck. So, anyway.
When you said you could put it on hold, how, like if I came up and I grabbed one out of the closet, how do I know it's been on hold?
Well, you're not going to be able to because it's locked up. And if somebody gets it for you and they scan it, it will say this item is on hold.
Oh, okay.
And so they'll say, I can't give it to you. Yep, you got to scan in that process. So that'll be taken care of. The other thing is, I went through and I tweaked our checkout system a little bit. And that kind of created some people getting messages saying you need to turn in your stuff over. Sorry about that, but that's, anyways. You get what you pay for, which is we're paying like $0 for this. So some items like the Bracken School Readiness and the C-Tony, I put those on a limited checkout basis. Like right now, it's like you can get it for like a month. And so you get it and you need to return it. Well,
That's
a long
that is.
He's like, is that not enough? I was like, please.
I said a month. I'm not trying to create more problems for people.
Yeah.
If it turns out that the cycle isn't sufficient enough to where people are waiting and waiting for the Bracken or waiting and waiting for the C-Tony, then I'll have to talk to the library services and we'll have to adjust it to 2 weeks or 1 week. This is all kind of new and we're kind of playing like it is, but I just wanted to be clear for some of you, like some tests, it's, for the year or whatever, but other tests like the C-Tony and some other things, we're going to kind of limit that checkout window. I thought a month because, people have times off. Wednesdays are no longer an option maybe for some people who are testing. Some kid could get sick. Please give you a month. And if you can't get it together, then you're going to have to figure something else out and give the kid to somebody else. But I'm trying to be kind of loose and relaxed.
Where did you go?
But that's what everybody said I needed to be. It depends. If we have a lot of it, then I say like 2 months or whatever. But like for some other ones, which we don't have very many and the demand is pretty high, we have a lot. One of us has the PAL, but it's only one.
Does everybody not have that
PAL,
memorized?
and it is a very low demand. So I'm creating a lot of like it's on special.
Woodland, I understand.
It's on special assignment. But anyway, so we'll tweak it as we go along. I hope that people are going to be fairly respectful. We're not going to allow you to hold on to these things. Some people have checked things out and forgot they had them and swore up and down they didn't have them. And then it turned out they had them.
But they apologized and said they're bad.
So that's kind of one of the reasons why we are, I know it seems like we're locking things up.
I was on maternity leave.
She brought it down here.
I said no names. But we're all very busy. We got tons of stuff. We're moving around from building to building. It's easy to forget. So that's why we're kind of being a pain about locking these things up and keeping them locked up and keeping track of where they are.
Yeah.
So that everybody gets a chance to use these measures. We just don't have that many of them, and we're going on from there. So, do I want to talk about
No, what?
the central scoring? The central scoring thing. I'll just talk about it.
All right.
So we've got the Connors and we've got the
ABAS.
and the other one. Yes. So
Oh, yeah.
What's the other one?
The SSIS.
So as you know, the traffic is becoming an issue, parking is becoming an issue. So we're trying to work on solutions that decrease the amount of traffic coming in. So we're trying to work on at least a cloud solution for some of these things.
We have one for all of them. No, we do. Because the SSIS has gone online. Where's Hudson? Thank you. I know. I thought you would love that.
Yes, it has. But keep in mind something. Those who have used it, we kind of based it on the usage of the people that used it a lot last year. If you're like suddenly deciding, hey, I think I'd like to try it now.
Like the number of people that use the BAS 3,
We
which went up like by like 700%.
Yeah, we're going to have a bit of a situation. So it's options, but I'm just saying that the Connors.
The Connors you can access remotely. The SSIS was the only thing that we were really stuck. And now we won't be. Hallelujah.
The Connors, we're working on
The
that.
Connors we have remotely too.
Okay.
Because we have MHS. And the same thing with the ABAS because you can do WPS.
Okay, what was the one that we didn't have the software for?
SSIS.
Which we don't have to worry about anymore.
Bam,
Yeah.
bam, bam.
Okay, so keeping in mind.
Acronym.
Anybody got any SSISs that they were like waiting to score? Because I have a feeling that the Windows 10 is going to go on there, and since
Oh,
we don't have
God.
that scoring
We
software.
can't find the disk.
We lost the disk. So it's going to be gone once the update takes place.
I've never seen the disk,
So keep that in mind.
which is why we've been holding that computer in Payling's cubicle.
We can't find it. So we're working on it. So anyway, the idea is, again, we're moving towards clouds. We don't want people to be coming in and just
Not that we
having
don't
to
wanna see
park
you.
and wait in line for scoring. So that's what we're looking for. Yes,
We have more back.
September.
when the rollover happens. When the budget rolls, then that's when we can order a whole bunch of stuff. And hopefully we should have enough for this year.
Oh, no, if we don't, we need to have a talk. If we use more than,
It's fine.
like almost 3,000 masks as a district, we need to have a chat.
All right, so that's all I got.
So now is our team time. We will have 1 hour for our team meeting, and then afterwards, I'll be around if you want to do the clock hours. You can have them in. Okay, so my team will be in like Ashley.
Were you guys gonna talk about how career ladders are supporting the group?
Chelsea, let's go up to the third floor.
Oh, we have that to come
My
down.
team, we're gonna stay here.
I noticed
Not
it's
gonna go
not,
anywhere.
it's not one per.